12 Black Celebrities Who Were Secretly Born Male. Welcome to Legends of Black Excellence. What if the faces you've seen on magazine covers, on stage and on screen, those powerful, beautiful black icons, carried a truth the world was never supposed to know? This isn't tabloid talk. It's real. It's raw. And it's about courage. These 12 celebrities weren't just fighting for fame. They were fighting to live as their true selves in an industry that demands perfection and punishes difference. Born male, but living fully and fiercely in their truth, they shattered expectations and rewrote the rules of identity under the harshest spotlight imaginable. What you're about to hear isn't just surprising, it's groundbreaking. Their journeys will move you, shake you, and open your eyes. So before we dive in, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment, because this is more than a story. It's a truth the world needs to face. Ready? Let's begin. T.S. Madison. T.S. Madison, a life that refused to be silenced. Born Madison Hinton on October 22, 1977, in Miami, Florida, T.S. Madison is a force unlike any other. A bold, unapologetic trailblazer whose journey from rejection to recognition reshaped what it means to be black, trans, and unapologetically powerful in America. Assigned male at birth and raised in a deeply religious household, Madison knew from an early age that her truth didn't align with the world around her. At just 16, she was forced out of her home, thrown into a harsh world with no safety net. Homelessness, survival sex work, and constant marginalization followed, yet she never broke. Instead, she rose. In 2013, Madison shattered expectations with viral Vine videos that spread like wildfire, catapulting her into internet stardom. But this wasn't just fleeting fame, it was a cultural reckoning. A black trans woman was claiming her space online, loud and proud, in a world that had long erased people like her. She didn't just go viral, she built an empire. Madison transformed her online presence into real-world influence, landing reality TV deals, brand endorsements, and a fiercely loyal following. She spoke openly about her transition, her past, her truth, with no filter and no shame. In 2021, she made history as the first black trans woman to star in and executive produce her own reality series, The T.S. Madison Experience, on WeTV. Her star only rose higher. She appeared in the 2021 film Zola and made waves again when Beyoncé featured her on the track Cozy, from the 2022 Renaissance album, a defining moment in pop culture and trans visibility. Madison has never married and has no children. Instead, she's poured her energy into advocacy, representation, and reclaiming the narrative. Though open about love and relationships, she rejects traditional labels, living her truth on her own terms. T.S. Madison's story isn't one of secrecy. It's not about hiding or passing or apologizing. It's about standing tall in the face of rejection and saying, "I will not be erased." She didn't just break through barriers, she turned them into stepping stones. Her life isn't a secret. It's a revolution. Isis King. Isis King's journey is nothing short of groundbreaking. Born Darrell Walls on October 1, 1985, in Prince George's County, Maryland, she would go on to become a powerful symbol in the modern transgender movement, stepping into the national spotlight at a time when few had the courage to do so. Assigned male at birth, Isis spent her early years shrouded in confusion and isolation, wrestling silently with questions about her identity. As a teen, she first thought she might be gay. But deep down, she always knew the truth: she was a woman. With little support from her family, Isis made a bold move to New York City in search of acceptance and belonging. At one point homeless, she found refuge at the Ali Forney Center for LGBTQ+ youth, a shelter that became the launchpad for her extraordinary rise. In 2008, the world met her on America's Next Top Model, where she made history as the show's first openly transgender contestant. Introduced by Tyra Banks, Isis didn't just walk the runway, she walked into the hearts of millions, breaking barriers and forcing a long-overdue conversation about gender identity on mainstream television. Just a year later, in 2009, Isis underwent gender confirmation surgery, a deeply personal milestone supported by the show. She later returned for the ANTM All-Star Cycle, cementing her place in pop culture. But her story didn't stop there. Isis transitioned into acting, landing roles in When They See Us, With Love, and Shameless, proving her talent knew no limits. Openly asexual, Isis has spoken honestly about prioritizing self-love, healing, and purpose over traditional romance. Though she's never married or had children, her legacy as a pioneer continues to echo through fashion, film, and activism. What makes Isis King's story unforgettable isn't that she was born male, it's that she chose to live fully and fearlessly as herself. From a shelter bed to a global stage, Isis turned pain into power and showed the world what true authenticity looks like. Zaya Wade. Zaya Wade, born Zion Malachi Aramis Wade on May 29, 2007, is far more than just the daughter of a celebrity. She's become a powerful voice for a generation redefining identity and acceptance. As the second child of NBA legend Dwayne Wade and stepdaughter of actress Gabrielle Union, Zaya was assigned male at birth. But even as a toddler, she began expressing a deep truth about who she was. By the age of 3, she showed signs of her authentic self, long before most children can even articulate the concept of gender. In 2020, at just 12 years old, Zaya came out publicly as transgender. While many trans youth face rejection, Zaya was met with unconditional love and unwavering support from her family, an extraordinary stand, especially in the spotlight of a high-profile Black household. That support didn't just impact Zaya, it sent powerful ripples through the worlds of sports, entertainment and beyond, challenging stereotypes and sparking national conversations. Despite public scrutiny and backlash from conservative voices, Zaya moved forward with remarkable grace and strength. In February 2023, her gender and name change were legally recognized by a Los Angeles court, affirming her identity as Zaya Malachi Aramis Wade. She has since spoken about her experience with hormone replacement therapy, describing it as a key step toward feeling fully aligned in her own skin. Zaya is already leaving her mark far beyond her family's fame. She's modeled for iconic brands like Puma, Tiffany & Company and Kuromi, and co-founded Translatable, a digital platform that provides education and emotional support for LGBTQ+ youth and their families. Though still in her teens, Zaya has become a beacon of visibility, participating in interviews, public panels, and campaigns that center trans empowerment. She hasn't publicly labeled her sexual orientation, choosing instead to focus on growth, expression, and advocacy. Her story isn't about hiding, it's about standing tall, being seen, and showing others that authenticity is strength. From a child discovering her truth to a global symbol of resilience, Zaya Wade is not just living her story, she's leading a movement. Janet Mock. Janet Mock's story is not just one of transformation, it's one of fierce resilience and bold redefinition. Born as Charles Mock on March 10, 1983 in Honolulu, Hawaii, Janet would grow into one of the most powerful voices in modern media, a writer, director, and activist who didn't just live her truth, she used it to ignite a cultural shift. From a young age, Janet knew who she was inside didn't match what the world saw. Raised in a multiracial, working-class home marked by instability, abuse, and financial hardship, she faced challenges most of us can't imagine. But by her teenage years, she was already carving a path toward living authentically. While still in high school, she began hormone therapy and, at just 18, traveled to Thailand to undergo gender confirmation surgery, a journey she funded through sex work. She later shared that deeply personal chapter in her groundbreaking memoir Redefining Realness, not for shock value, but to dismantle shame and silence, especially within the Black and trans communities. Her bravery and brilliance as a storyteller launched her into the spotlight. After earning degrees in fashion and journalism, she became an editor at People.com. But it was her work on the hit FX series Pose that made history and headlines. As the first Black transgender woman to write, direct, and produce a television episode, Janet helped bring to life a show that featured the largest cast of trans actors in TV history, forever changing the landscape of representation. In her personal life, she married photographer Aaron Treadwell in 2015 before divorcing in 2019, later entering a public relationship with actor Angel Bismarck Curiel. Though she has no biological children, she's become a guiding light for countless young people navigating their own gender journeys. Janet Mock's rise, from a child who once felt invisible to a woman who reshaped media with her presence, is nothing short of revolutionary. She didn't just tell her story, she reclaimed it. And in doing so, proved that owning your truth isn't a weakness, it's your greatest power. Ariana Rose Phillip. Erin Rose Phillip was born on March 15, 2001, in Antigua and assigned male at birth. But from the very start, her life was shaped by the weight and the strength of multiple identities. Black, transgender, and living with cerebral palsy, Erin's path would never be simple, but it would be extraordinary. At just 3 years old, she moved with her family to the Bronx, New York, where her journey of self-discovery truly began. By age 14, she publicly came out as gender fluid. And in 2018, she took a bold step forward, embracing her truth as a transgender woman. She began hormone therapy and transitioned socially and physically, though she's chosen to keep certain aspects of her medical transition private, saying simply, "Feeling right in my own skin matters more than meeting expectations." That same year, the world took notice. Erin became the first Black, transgender, and physically disabled model to sign with a major agency, Elite Model Management. It was a moment that shattered barriers and reimagined what beauty could be. Since then, she's walked runways for Moschino and Willie Norris, and starred in campaigns for iconic brands like Dove, Nike, and Marc Jacobs. Her presence in a wheelchair wasn't just powerful, it was history in motion. In 2019, she lit up screens in Miley Cyrus's Mother's Daughter music video, which has since racked up over 100 million views. But Erin is far more than a face in fashion, she's a voice for change. At 14, she penned her memoir This Kid Can Fly, a raw and inspiring look at resilience, identity, and what it means to be seen in a world that often refuses to look. Erin identifies as queer and has kept her romantic life private, choosing instead to focus on her health, her career, and creating spaces where others like her can thrive. Born male, but becoming Erin Rose Phillip meant becoming something far greater, a living symbol of courage, visibility, and possibility without limits. Yari Jones. Yari Jones, often mistakenly called Hari Jones, is a powerful force reshaping the worlds of fashion, film, and LGBTQ+ advocacy. Born and raised in New York, Yari was assigned male at birth, but her true self began to shine through during her college years. Her transition wasn't marked by spectacle or tabloid headlines, it was marked by courage, authenticity, and a deep commitment to living her truth. She proudly identifies as a trans lesbian and embraces her identity as a plus-sized black transgender woman. 3 traits that have historically been erased or sidelined by both Hollywood and the fashion industry. But Yari didn't just demand a seat at the table, she brought her own and invited others to join. In 2020, she became a national sensation as one of the featured faces in Calvin Klein's Pride campaign. Her image towering over Times Square wasn't just striking, it was revolutionary. That billboard wasn't just about representation. It was a loud, unapologetic declaration, we belong here too. Yari's influence goes far beyond modeling. On screen, she has delivered powerful performances in films like Port Authority, a Cannes Film Festival selection, and indie features like Adam and On Our Way. On television, she's appeared in groundbreaking series like Pose, Transparent, and Tales of the City. Shows that mirror her own lived experience and amplify the voices of those too often ignored. Off-screen, Yari is just as impactful. She's an outspoken activist for trans rights, racial justice, and body positivity. She's also a fierce advocate for chosen family and mentorship, often referring to herself as a mom to many LGBTQ+ youth, offering love, guidance, and a safe space in a world that too often offers neither. Yari Jones is married to fellow trans woman Corey Kempster, and together they stand as a beacon of love, resilience, and unapologetic truth. Being born male didn't define Yari, it was merely the first page in a story she would rewrite with strength, grace, and unshakable pride. Her journey is proof that when visibility is rooted in authenticity, it doesn't just change lives, it changes culture. Yasmin Finney. Yasmin Finney, born on August 30, 2003, in Manchester, England, has quickly become one of the boldest and brightest new voices in British entertainment, fearlessly representing both the black and transgender communities. Assigned male at birth, Yasmin struggled early on with the disconnect between who she was and how the world saw her. As a teenager, she began her social and medical transition, choosing authenticity over comfort in a world that often demands silence from people like her. Her upbringing wasn't a fairy tale. With a strained relationship with her mother and little support at home, Yasmin leaned on the LGBTQ+ community for strength, love, and guidance. It was that chosen family, and her own inner fire, that helped her rise. Her journey into the spotlight didn't begin on a studio set, but on TikTok, where her raw, funny, and heartfelt videos about life as a trans teen in the UK captivated a growing audience. Then came her breakthrough. In 2022, she landed the role of Elle Argent in Netflix's coming-of-age sensation Heartstopper. The series became a global hit, and Yasmin's tender, powerful portrayal of a trans girl exploring identity, love, and friendship touched millions. Her performance earned her a Children's and Family Emmy nomination, making her one of the youngest openly trans actors to receive that honor. In 2023, she shattered yet another barrier by joining the legendary Doctor Who franchise as Rose Noble, becoming one of the first openly transgender actresses in the show's history. Off-screen, Yasmin has been refreshingly candid about the unique challenges of dating as a trans celebrity, including being banned from dating apps simply for being too well known. Yet despite the obstacles, she remains fiercely committed to giving voice to young trans people of color who rarely see themselves in the stories told around them. Yasmin Finney may have been born into a world that tried to define her, but she rewrote the script. She's not a footnote or a headline. She's the beginning of a new era, an era of truth, courage, and representation. And her story is only just beginning. Eva Rain. Eva Rain, born on June 20, 1996, in St. Louis, Missouri, is part of a bold new wave of black trans women redefining the media from the inside out. Assigned male at birth and raised in a conservative Midwestern household, Eva's earliest years were marked by silence, resistance, and the quiet struggle of knowing she was different in a world that didn't yet understand her. But it was her deep love for storytelling, a need to express what lived inside her, that lit the path toward her truth. As a teenager, Eva began her social transition, embracing her true name, identity, and the courage to live authentically. In 2018, she moved to New York City, where her passion for storytelling took center stage. She became a summer fellow at them, a prominent LGBTQ+ publication, where her interviews with queer public figures and bold advocacy for trans visibility quickly earned her a reputation as one of the community's most fearless and eloquent voices. Eva's acting journey began with the short film Celebs, 2019, a work so powerful it earned a place in the Museum of Modern Art's permanent collection. But her true breakout moment came in 2022, when she starred in Anything's Possible, a romantic comedy directed by Billy Porter and released by Amazon Prime. With that role, Eva made history as one of the first black trans actresses to lead a major studio film, breaking barriers and rewriting the rules of representation. Beyond acting, Eva is also a gifted writer, with bylines in Vogue, New York Magazine, and Highsnobiety. She served as a correspondent for Vice News' acclaimed documentary series Transnational, a project that earned her both a Peabody Award and a GLAAD Media Award. While she keeps her personal life private, Eva's public mission is clear: to tell stories that reflect the beauty, complexity, and strength of those who rarely get seen. Born into a world that tried to box her in, she didn't just transition, she transformed on her own terms. Eva Raine isn't just rising, she's lighting the way for others to follow. Angelica Ross. Angelica Ross, born Malcolm Ross on November 28, 1980, in Kenosha, Wisconsin, is a force of nature, a self-made trailblazer who turned personal pain into purposeful power. Raised in a conservative Christian home and assigned male at birth, Angelica knew early on that the identity the world placed on her didn't match the truth inside. At 17, she came out as gay. By 19, she began her full gender transition, a decision that would set her on a path both harrowing and heroic. Her truth came at a cost. Rejected by her mother and stepfather, Angelica found temporary refuge with her biological father while battling intense emotional turmoil. At her lowest point, she attempted suicide, a moment she would later describe not as the end, but the turning point. Searching for direction, she enrolled in college, only to drop out after one semester. She then joined the U.S. Navy seeking structure and discipline, but was ultimately discharged under the now-defunct Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy after enduring relentless harassment. Refusing to let the world define her limits, Angelica taught herself how to code and, in 2014, launched TransTech Social Enterprises, a nonprofit that helps transgender people develop tech skills and find dignified employment. That alone would have cemented her legacy. But Angelica kept rising. She pivoted to acting and became a breakout star as Candy Ferocity on FX's Pose, then continued to shine in American Horror Story. In 2022, she made Broadway history, becoming the first openly transgender woman to play Roxy Hart in Chicago. Private about her love life and without children, Angelica remains focused on reshaping the narrative, championing visibility for trans voices in both business and entertainment. From a teenager cast aside to a Broadway star and tech visionary, Angelica Ross didn't just rewrite her own story, she's helping thousands write theirs. Being born male didn't limit her. It fueled her mission. India Moore. India Moore was born on January 17, 1995, in the Bronx, New York, a borough that shaped a trailblazer who would go on to defy labels, break binaries, and challenge the very foundation of beauty and identity in mainstream media. Assigned male at birth, India identifies as both transgender and non-binary, using they/them and she/her pronouns, embracing fluidity in every sense of the word. Their early life was anything but easy. At just 14, India was forced into the foster care system after being kicked out of their home because of their gender identity. By 10th grade, they had dropped out of high school, yet resilience became their compass. They earned a GED while hustling to survive, determined to rewrite the narrative written for them. Modeling came first. Striking campaigns with Dior and Gucci put them in front of global lenses that had long excluded trans and non-binary beauty. But it was acting that truly set them on fire. In 2018, India exploded into the spotlight as Angel Evangelista in FX's Pose, a groundbreaking series set in New York's 1980s ballroom scene. The role didn't just earn critical acclaim, it reshaped television. Through Angel, India gave voice to a generation silenced by both Hollywood and history. Their performance landed them on Time magazine's 2019 list of the 100 most influential people in the world. Off-screen, India's impact is just as fierce. They founded Beetlefruit Media to amplify stories from the margins, tales the world too often ignores. In December 2018, India came out as polyamorous, and in March 2025, they shared their engagement to Activo in a heartfelt Instagram post. From lending their voice to animated characters in Steven Universe Future to becoming the first trans person to grace the cover of Elle USA, India continues to break barriers with grace and fire. Born male, yes, but India Moore's story isn't defined by beginnings. It's defined by fearless truth, boundless creativity, and a refusal to be anything but their full, fluid self. They are not just a star, they are a movement.
Laverne Cox.
Laverne Cox was born on May 29, 1972, in Mobile, Alabama, but her journey would one day reshape what representation means in America. Assigned male at birth, Laverne was raised in the Deep South by her single mother and grandmother, alongside her identical twin brother, Lamar.
From the beginning, she felt different.
Her femininity made her a target for relentless bullying, and by the age of 11, after developing feelings for male classmates, she attempted to take her own life, crushed under the weight of a society that taught her to be ashamed of who she was. But Laverne didn't let the cruelty define her. She channeled her pain into purpose. A gifted student with a passion for the arts, she attended the Alabama School of Fine Arts before moving on to Indiana University Bloomington, and later Marymount Manhattan College in New York. It was there she transitioned from dance to acting, and began her personal transition in her mid-20s. With courage and clarity, she started hormone therapy, knowing it might cost her roles, opportunities, and acceptance.
Still, she chose authenticity.
Her breakthrough came in 2013, when she captivated audiences as Sophia Bursett on Netflix's Orange is the New Black, a performance that was as groundbreaking as it was unforgettable. Her portrayal of a transgender woman navigating prison life was raw, human, and real. That role earned Laverne a historic Primetime Emmy nomination, the first ever for a transgender actor. In 2015, she went on to win a Daytime Emmy as executive producer of Laverne Cox Presents, The T-Word, a powerful documentary giving voice to trans youth. Beyond the screen, Laverne continued to break barriers, starring in films like Promising Young Woman, Can You Keep a Secret? And Inventing Anna. She even became the first openly transgender person to be honored with a Barbie doll made in her likeness. Personally, Laverne has spoken openly about choosing not to marry or have children, instead focusing on her own healing. In 2020, she survived a transphobic attack in Los Angeles, using that painful moment not to retreat, but to raise awareness and demand change. Laverne Cox was born into one identity, but her story is not about secrecy. It's about transformation. About bold, unapologetic truth. Her life, and the lives of others like her, show us that identity is not defined by what's written on a birth certificate, but by the courage it takes to live authentically. At Legends of Black Excellence, we honor these voices, not to divide, but to uplift. Because real power lies in truth.
In resilience.
In refusing to be erased. So we ask you, is the world ready to embrace authenticity in all its forms? Let us know in the comments below.